Brad Pitt has been in a long list of iconic films, and while it's got him the awards and recognition, it also means he's worked with virtually every actor in the industry. Sounds pretty great, yeah? But is it really great to work with people you'll end up hating? We've got news for actors who didn't get to work with Pitt a second time. First up, bad news, you're on the Brad Pitt list. The Academy Award winner recently played a Zen assassination named Ladybug in the star-studded Bullet Train, and his co-stars Aaron Taylor-Johnson and Brian Tyree Henry revealed some insider information about his conduct on set. As we all expected, Pitt is an amiable person to work with and is at the point in his career where he'd like to be surrounded by people who are there to have a good time and are adding value to his life. The kick-ass star called him a humble and gracious being while acknowledging that he's picky with those that surround him, which only makes it the other person's problem. Taylor-Johnson also revealed that actors tend to make up notes when working with especially intolerable people. Understandably so, you wouldn't want to work with the same awful actors again. It came up as no surprise to him that the Fight Club star had come to sort out actors into the good and bad. Seems like Ladybug's spiritual turmoil made its way to Pitt as he looks for peaceful, harmonious interactions rather than ones that bring him difficulties. We know he'd hate to come across this piece of information about the Oscar winner if we've only worked with him once. Nobody wants their name to be on this list, and especially not Brad Pitt's. But what is it like to work with Brad Pitt? The Kissing Booth star Joey King spilled about her experience working with Brad Pitt for the very first time on the set of Bullet Train. She was a nervous wreck as she tried to act cool about working alongside with one of her idols, but luckily the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood star made it extremely easy to work with him. In getting to know him, King found out that the famed actor was just a normal frickin' guy, and such a big cheerleader. Not only was Pitt leading the cast's energy with his years of experience, he also gave them a fun, comfortable environment to work in. Talk about being an all-arounder. Although Joey King isn't exactly starting out in Hollywood, it still comes as a blessing for someone her age to work alongside a cast of such talented, experienced actors. We're sure she learned things she'll remember for the entirety of her career. Moving on, Henry revealed that even Pitt's hair was a talented cast member. The performance put on by his wheat blonde, beautiful hair was so mesmerizing it made him forget his cues. There was even a wind fan perfectly placed just for his hair during the final scene of the train. It's quite something to find out that Pitt is talented at controlling his hair along with being one of the best actors his age. This special talent gave him the Eternal star the necessary motivation to punch Pitt in the face during their fight scenes while also appreciating how precious it is. And how about fighting with him? Pitt's unlucky character kills a bunch of other feared assassins, albeit accidentally, during the train ride to Kyoto. Each fight scene has its own specialty, and he executes them all impressively well. It almost feels like you're in there with him, going head-to-head with his unexpected enemies. Joker star Zazie Beetz enjoyed this opportunity to fight Pitt in what became her first climactic death on screen. A fight scene is the most fun kind of icebreaker for an actor. It's also the easiest way to familiarize oneself with an actor's talent and techniques while working. It came at an advantage then that Beetz had to fight with Brad Pitt of all people. According to her experience, he was pretty easy to work with, and the scene came naturally once he got into the groove, really making his star power shine. For the majority of the film, Beetz' character identity is hidden on the train under a mascot, and she's unmasked only after her fight scene with Pitt. When her real identity is the ruthless assassin, the Hornet, is revealed. This meant that her major scenes in the film were Brad Pitt, and it was a fun treat for her. Much like Joey King, she also enjoyed having the chance to work alongside the 58-year-old actor while he was in action, so all his co-stars got to set as his fans and return that way too. Moving on, Brad Pitt reinvented the action hero as we know it in Bullet Train. An assassin that recently been in therapy for anger management is trying to live his life, avoid killing any more people. Yeah, that doesn't sound a lot like your average action hero, neither does the fact that he suffers from chronic anxiety and needs constant reassurance. But that's exactly what made Pitt's unlikely action hero the best one we've seen in a while. While the train was filled with some of the deadliest assassins in the world, Ladybug was just trying to get off of it after procuring the briefcase he'd been stubbed to steal. His phone is stuck to his ear for the entirety of the train ride as he talks to his handler while she de-escalates situations for him because he spends pretty much the whole movie hyperventilating. He's often seen quoting his therapist and advising other assassins to go to therapy if they want to deal with their anger issues. Brad Pitt has been the image of the ideal action hero who's ripped, clever, smug, and almost always too good at his job. And while Ladybug qualifies for most of them, the character's nothing at all like his other acting roles. films. In the process, Leach and Pitt also ended up making a character that truly depicted a person with chronic anxiety even though no one expected him to. Bullet Train ushers in a new era of action movies that forsake the traditional stereotypes of certain roles. You don't always have to be a stone-cold Jason Statham character to survive, as Ladybug proves to us in the end. If anything, it's his anxious way of living that lands him as the driver of this film's action. And now, time for some more news. Before we end this video, we'll go over some more interesting bits from the set of Bullet Train and how it's been received after a month of running. First up, despite being the final major summer feature, Bullet Train isn't doing so well on the box office. The action comedy with an ensemble cast has spent a few weeks in the cinema, but it's still unclear whether the film is a hit or not. The budget for production was reportedly $90 million, and so far it's grossed nearly $70 million domestically and over $150 million worldwide. That is, unfortunately, neither bad nor great. Ever since its release back at the beginning of August, the film has been garnering mixed reviews from critics and audiences alike. It got a 53% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics, while the viewers rated it 71%. It also received a B+ cinema score from its opening day audiences. The film is neither loved or hated by a majority of audiences, being an entertaining watch, yet not having any real emotional or intellectual takeaway despite considerable efforts done for both. Many criticize the decision to keep the Japanese influences on a cast of American stars, as the script is based off of a Japanese fiction novel by Kotaro Isaka. What's clear is that the Bullet Train was a somewhat underwhelming end to summer films for a large chunk of viewers. And finally, Aaron Taylor Johnson had to say goodbye to a chunk of his hand during filming. Aaron Taylor Johnson's Tangerine was one of the lead assassins in the film, which meant he had to partake in a bunch of the action scenes we saw on screen. Unlike Brad Pitt, who's had his familiar share of action movies, the Kraven the Hunter star didn't get to leave the set unscathed. But then, according to the actor himself, he knew he'd end up with a few battle scars after accepting a role in David Leitch's production. He'd recently been following a crazy mad keto diet, which made his blood sugar levels drop dangerously low in between scenes. In one such fight scene, he got drop-kicked across the room, and before he knew it, he was out cold. The kick had landed him against a sharp corner of the room where there wasn't any padding for safety to collide with. And so, Taylor Johnson had to bid a chunk of his hand farewell. He's such a champ though. When he woke up from the impact, he was ready to have another take, but instead was taken to the hospital to get stitched up. And that's it for this video. Have you seen Bullet Train yet? If so, what did you think about it? Would you keep a list too? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Goodbye for now and see you in the next one.